All right, we're back. We're doing our review for our next test. It is coming up here, so I want to make sure I get a review up for those of you that want to get some extra help in it. So here's what we got. This is on the slope and finding y-intercept, so it's honestly pretty straightforward once you figure out one thing, and that is to find what we're calling the corner points, and that's where you have all of your axis lines, your number lines, intersecting with each other. So here's one right here. Okay, we'll mark that. We've got one up here. Okay, we've got one down here, and you can start seeing where they're all coming together, right? So once you can start seeing that our corner points have both the x and y numbers converging on each other, it starts getting a little easier to draw your slope triangle and saying that that's up 2 and then -1, and we can see that line A has a -2 slope. So we're going to circle that guy right there. So that would be rise of 2, a run of -1, which is going to be -2. Okay. So our second one on line A, we're going to look over here. We have where it crosses the y-intercept, or the y-axis. We have a 0, 4 is our point, and we're going to look down here. We're going to go, oh, there's 0, 4 right there. And since we know both the slope and the y-intercept, we can look down at our equation, and we're looking for a y-intercept of +4 and a slope of -2, and our equation -2, +4. Okay, our second line, we're looking at line B now. Again, we want to find our corner point, so there's a corner point right there. There's another corner point, and we can say up 1/3. So our slope is 1/3. So I'm going to look for 1/3. Boom, right there. Okay, and then our y-intercept is 0, -3. Always want to write it with a 0 so we know it's a point. And it's boom right there. Okay. In our equations, putting both of these together, so we're looking for the equation that has a slope of 1/3. And there's 1/3. And a y-intercept of -3, -3. So there you go. All right, that's number 1. Number 2, it says use the graph to complete the table. Find the slope, y-intercept, and the equation for the line. Okay, so our slope, we're looking for our corner points. Look, here's a bunch of corner points. A lot of corner points. So we're going to go up 1, -1. So +1, -1. So we have a rise of 1 and a run of -1, which is a slope of -1. Okay? And so it does say to list the corner points. So our first one could be 0, 2, x of 0, +2. Our next one is going to be -1, 3. So x is -1, y is +3. Next one is going to be -2, +4. You can see it counting here, and so we're going up by 1 each time. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we're going to go -3, -4. Okay. All right. So what is the y-intercept of this line? Well, this y-intercept is 0, 2. That's where it crosses the y-axis, so this point right here. And we have 0, 2. Make sure you list it as an ordered pair. If you just put 2 there, it's not going to be right. It's got to be an ordered pair. Okay, what is the equation of this line? Well, we're going to combine our slope, and so it should be y equals, and there should be an x there. And our slope goes in front of our x, and our y-intercept is +2, +2. Boom, done. All right, so now we're going to have, let's keep going. All right, use the table to answer the questions below. Okay, what is the change in y between corner points? So we're going to look at our y values, and there's a little misprint here. It should be y. Our change in y values here, so each time it's doing what? So when it goes from -2 to 0, 0 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 6, each time it's adding 2. Okay? So each time it's adding 2. And so our change in y is +2 or 2. You could write either 2 or +2. Okay, what is the change in x between corner points? Well, the change in x each time, Well, -4 plus 1 is -3, so it's +1, +1, +1. So each time it's changing by adding 1, so we're going to say boom. And the nice thing about having the change in y done and the change in x done is that your slope is 2 over 1, and we would write that as 2. So my slope is 2. All right, find the slope of the line that passes through the points. This is your formula of slope of y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And this is kind of the one where I look for a template to help you guys out in substituting numbers in. All the y2 and y1s are saying is if this is your point 1, so if this is x1, y1, they have to both need to be on top of each other. They need to be in the same pair here. So this is y1, so we're saying 5, and then 6 is going to go right under it. And that would make this y2 and x2. So 3 is on top here, and 6 is underneath it. And you subtract across. So 3 minus 5 is -2. 6 minus 6 is 0. And of course, you cannot divide by 0, so this is what we call undefined slope. Okay. And if I was to draw an undefined slope, it would be going straight up and down. All right, flip it over. Okay, draw a line with a negative slope and a y-intercept of +2. Okay, so two things I'm looking for in a problem like this. I'm looking for, did you graph this point correctly? So should see a dot right there. And I want a negative slope, which means anything that's going, starting at the upper left-hand corner and then coming down. It could be like this, could be like this, could be like this. The only way that this would be wrong is if you drew a line that had a positive slope at this point. So negative slope. Don't forget your arrows. Done. Okay, it says draw a line with an undefined slope through point 1, 2. So if I go over 1, up 2, undefined slope has a 0 run, so it's divided by 0, so you could do 1 over 0. So that means you could go up 1 with a run of 0 and put a point, and you can start seeing that your line is going to be going straight up and down right there. This is the only answer that will work for this one. Okay. All right. Straight graph the line here. Well, we know that this is our y-intercept. Okay, so our y-intercept is 0, -3. So we're going to start at -3, put a dot. And our slope is -2 over 1. Okay, so we go down 2 and over 1. You could also say that this slope is 2 over -1 if you wanted to go the other way. So you could go up 2 and then -1. You can see that it's still in that same line. Okay, so I'm going to grab my note card here. I'm going to draw my line. There you go. So I've got my slope of +2, -1, so +2, -1. Okay. All right, my next one, my last one for graphing, we have graph the line of 3x plus 2y equals 8. If you know what standard form is and you can find the x and y intercepts, you can graph it from this point. But in this chapter, we've not gone over that yet. So you have to solve for y first. And we did a bunch of whiteboard work in class on this, if you remember. And we did a whole worksheet on this as well. Okay, so you're going to start with subtracting the x to the other side. Okay, and one of the most common mistakes that I see is that people will say, well, 8 minus 3 is 5. Well, these are not like terms. Well, what do I do with that? You just write them next to each other. So -3x plus 8, -3x plus 8. And then you can divide it by 2. And you've got y equals -3 over 2x plus 4. Okay. All right, so we're almost done here. So we're going to start at +4. So my y-intercept is 0, 4. I'm getting that from right here. So we're going to go up 4. And then my slope is -3 over 2. So I'm going to go down 3, +2. Down 3, +2. I'm looking for those corner points again. Okay. Whoops. There you go. Okay, write the equation of a line in slope-intercept form that passes through 0.05 and has a slope of 2. Okay, so you're going to have y2 minus y1 equals 2 times x2 minus x1. Okay, you could write this without the ones and twos, because we are going to replace that y. And when you start writing your equation, you can actually just go y minus and leave it open. And we wrote 2 in here because that's our slope. Okay. And we're going to leave our x there, minus. And so here's where it gets a little tricky. You've got to make sure that you place your 5 under the y and your 0 under x. Okay, so this is going to be y minus 5. You distribute the 2 equals 2x. And then 2 times 0 is 0, so we're going to get rid of it. And we add 5. And that's y equals 2x plus 5. Okay. All right, solve for y. We're going to subtract 5x from both sides. We've got 2y equals negative 5x plus 12 divided by 2. So we're dividing that 2 right there. The reason we're dividing by 2 is because it's got 2 there. And we have y equals negative 5 over 2x plus 6. Done. Okay, last but not least, find the point slope form of the equation of a line that passes through the points 2, negative 7, and 0, negative 3. Okay, so you have 2 points. The first thing that you need to know is your slope. And the slope formula says y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, so on the test, you don't have to write this. Okay, I'm just writing it out so you see where I'm getting my formula from. You're going to make your template here. Okay, decide which one you want to be y2. So I'm going to say negative 7 is y2. And you put 2 under it. And that makes negative 3 y1 and then 0 x1. Okay, so negative 7 minus negative 3. That means it's the opposite of, so we've got negative 4. Over 2 minus 0 is 2, which is negative 2. So we have a slope of negative 2. And we're going to say y minus y equals m times x minus x. Okay, this should look familiar because we have something similar up here, except the x minus x is over next to m. It's the same exact equation, except we've just moved the x minus x next to m. And now we can just substitute in. We have y minus. We know the slope is negative 2, so we're going to replace that. And now we've just got to substitute in here. So that particular one, you can pick either point. I like seeing 0 in there. That makes things easier on all of us. So I'm going to substitute 0 in here. And then I'm going to substitute negative 3 in here. And we've got y plus 3 equals negative 2x. I'm distributing here. But a negative 2 times x is negative 2. Negative 2 times 0 is 0. And we're going to subtract 3. And we've got y equals negative 2x minus 3. So now, that's the full way to do it if you don't have a y-intercept. But some people might have noticed that we have a y-intercept here. So you can actually go straight from this, once you know the slope, to y equals negative 2x minus 3. Because you have the negative 3 here, and you have the negative 2 here. But you just have to remember that if there's not a 0 there, then it's not a y-intercept, and you can't substitute it in that way. Okay, but either way, our answer should be the same, however you get it. Either way doesn't matter to me. And we'll do this one more in class because it looks like it's going to be a bear for you guys. So good luck on your test.